What's the best way to breathe when you're lifting heavy? Watch this.
Our next caller is Shane from Washington.
Shane, what's happening? How can we help you?
Hey guys, hey, I want to say, first of all, thanks for having me on here, and I really do appreciate everything that you guys do. I've learned a lot. My question for you is this. When I'm lifting, I'm finding that I kind of hold my breath on heavier lifts. So is there a proper breathing technique, or does it affect my lifts? If holding my breath, is that making the load heavier? I'm just curious if there is a proper way to breathe while lifting, and if so, what kind of effects does that have?
Yeah, breathing should feel pretty natural for the most part, but look, here's the deal. The reason why you hold your breath when you're lifting heavy is because you're bracing your core. You're trying to create stability in your core. Really, really heavy reps, like a single rep, it's okay to hold your breath. In fact, you're supposed to. Just when you stop the rep, take a couple breaths before you do another one. So don't hold your breath and do 5 reps. Hold your breath on that one rep, come up, take a few breaths, breathe in, brace, hold your breath, do another rep, and so on. If you're doing high rep sets, you want to breathe. You do want to breathe out while you're doing the repetition, but while keeping your core tight. Okay, so you're not just loosely breathing out. You're holding everything tight and breathing out like this. Yeah, really, really tight. And, martial artists will do like a ki when they throw a punch or a kick. You'll hear boxers breathe out, psst, when they throw a punch. What they're doing is they're keeping their core tight while expressing power. So it is something you can practice. The other part too, Shane, is don't overthink it. I see people overthinking breathing, which is, it's like right now, like start to think about how you're
problematic.
Yeah, like start thinking about how your eyes are blinking right now, and then you'll start to feel really awkward really quickly. So don't overthink it too much. If you find yourself like getting dizzy or whatever, definitely remind yourself to take a breath, but overthinking breathing can start to get a little funny.
This is why I've always been hesitant to, really coach that, because it's like it's got to come natural to you, but also you just really need to consider like how you can brace when you have that kind of demand on your body. And so, there's just some things like I used to tell people to kind of try and breathe through their teeth. So it's like you're tensing up, but you're, exhaling at least like with that tightness in mind. But really, I mean, it's an individual experience. So just make sure it's natural. And you're just considering, that braking mechanism, or bracing mechanism rather, is at the forefront.
When my clients would ask me this exact question, I would say the most important part about breathing is that we do it. That's what I'd say to them. It's like, and you do it as natural as possible. Now, there are some things that I think could help outside of actually the breathing while you're exercising and actually doing things to train yourself to get better at this. Like this is where like the drawn maneuver and learning how to do what Sal said is learning how to brace your core and breathe at the same time. Like we could practice that right now while we're sitting here talking. I just brace my core, but yet I'm still able to talk and communicate. So that's something you should learn how to do. You want to be able to, can I tighten up my core? I've been doing it the whole time since I said it, and still have a conversation, still breathe naturally. You want to be able to do that so that when you do the higher rep ranges, like Sal's saying, where I'm doing 10 to 15 reps, I'm bracing my core for safety and to keep myself rigid, but then I'm also still able to breathe in and out. That's an important technique to be able to learn how to do. So I would practice that, but I hold my breath when I do, 5x5s. And if I'm doing 5x5 heavy squats, I take in a deep breath, and then I hold my breath, and then as I come out of the squat, you hear me breathe out.
Or you grunt.
Yeah,
like grunting is tense breathing, right?
And then at the top of I stand up there with the weight on my shoulders for a second, kind of catch my breath again, brace, hold it, and then I breathe again at the top. So you can hold your breath through single reps like that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think most of your heavy lifters will do that. When you're in higher rep range, you're obviously not going to hold your breath for 15 reps. You
can. You'd have to take 2 breaths in between to be a long set.
And that's probably risking passing out doing something like that. That's where you want to learn how to brace the core while also just breathing naturally. And I agree with Sal. I try to get my clients not to overthink this. So you're like, listen, if we're breathing, we're fine right now. We'll get to the learning how to brace and breathe at the same time. So long as you do that, I don't want my client holding their breath for 15 reps.
Your instinct is to like tense and grunt when you lift something heavy. That's because your body's trying to do that, right? Your body's trying to stabilize your core,
protect
while
your back.
Let the breath out. So, and again, I talked about it in martial arts. I talked about it in boxing. I know in yoga, I think it's called I hope I'm saying it right, Ujjayi breath, I believe, where you breathe through the back of the throat. all these practices, really what they're teaching is this controlled tense, because then there's a relaxed breath out where everything's kind of, that's a sigh, right? We're not trying to do that when we're trying to maintain, core stability.
Okay, yeah. So I fight Muay Thai, so I'm doing the hard breathes out when I'm throwing punches.
Yeah, bro, you
do
got
that same technique.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
totally.
And I'm tensing my core so much, so I'm just concentrating on. I don't want my back to blow out or something. So I do feel like I'm, maybe over tensing or something. But I just didn't know if it was negatively affecting my ability to lift, if I was starving my muscles of oxygen or whatnot. But sounds like that's not the case.
If you're not seeing stars, you're not getting dizzy, and you don't, then you're probably okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it.
Now, Shane, real quick before you hang up here, I noticed in your question that you wanted to grab the No BS 6-pack formula. Did you get that already?
I did. I don't have the little whatever, the roller and the ball, so I'm gonna hold off.
Okay.
So right now, yeah, I'm doing the anabolic, and then kind of a segue into this. I was going to do the performance because, like I said, I'm doing Muay Thai and I'm trying to gain some muscle, but I don't want to gain a lot of mass because I don't want that to, affect my ability in, the weight classes. So performance would probably be my next in line. Is that going to be something that I can just kind of keep running?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of my goal there.
It's an ideal program for.
Yeah, it's got 4 phases, so you'll be able to run.
That's kind of like the athlete.
You got
program,
it.
Yeah.
You got it, Shane. We'll send that to you, okay? Because I wanted to give you something. That's why I asked.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man. And then can I ask you guys, I love the podcast. I literally listen to you guys every day and I like the science. Do you guys have any recommendations on like resources to kind of learn the science of this stuff? Any book recommendations or
how many
without having to go to college?
How many episodes deep are you into Mind Pump?
Yeah, I just have it on repeat, so I'll just use that, I suppose.
I mean, seriously though, people ask me that all the time, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I got fucking Sal I got to talk to every day for the last 6 years."
We've all been
I'm not reading any more science articles than that.
You know what? If you go to
plenty.
If you go to sciencedaily.com, they'll post recent studies on almost any topic you can think about, including fitness and health. So you go to little sciencedaily.com, and you can read for hours and hours and hours if you want. That's one of my favorite resources.
Super Training is a book that you could look into for all the Soviet studies on
Super
weightlifting.
Training, yeah.
There you go.
Sweet. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate you a lot.
You got it. Your breathing's funny because it's simultaneously very important. You do it right when you exert yourself and you exhibit power. It's also simultaneously something you don't want to overthink all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll start to mess you up.
I think it also matters where you're at in your journey, right? So I would get this question all the time from like my beginner clients that, especially my ones that would like go and like research themselves and try and figure out like, hey, I heard I'm supposed to breathe this way on the negative and that, and like they'd be, and then you have me do these, and I'd be manipulating tempo, so it was confusing them. They're like, what am I supposed to do on these like 5-second negatives you have me do? Like, so they're all confused. I'm like, listen, don't overthink the breathing thing. You're breathing. I'm watching you. So just keep doing what you're doing. We'll get to like bracing your core and really learning how to do that. That's to me, so long as my client is breathing normally, I'm okay with that. As we get more advanced and really start loading and exerting ourselves, like, yeah, this is a technique that we can get better at learning how to brace and breathe. And I think there's some value to that for sure. But teaching it to a new client sometimes ends up causing them to be thinking about their breathing more than the movement. And learning the movement takes so long to get good at that I don't want to distract them with something else like, oh, you need to be breathing in for 3 seconds and then releasing and then, oh, don't forget to breathe. And it's like,
Your body
shit.
will figure out a way to get it done.
I mean, if you're breathing and you're doing the movement, like I'm telling most of my clients at the beginning, like let's get the movement down really, really well, and then we'll add that.
You want to get crazy with breathing, you got to look at top level Olympic lifters.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to brace their core in a particular way. They also have to brace their sphincter in a particular way. I'm not making this up.
Oh, I know.
This is actually
you don't
true.
Blowouts, dude.
That is 100% true. Do not Google that because you'll have nightmares forever.
As a great example, and that's the spectrum. Beginner, Olympic athlete. You know what I'm saying? And like, and at some point it makes a lot of sense to start moving in the direction of coaching towards that. But we trained mostly normal people that are learning how to train and move the weight properly. And I never liked overcome. And I had other trainers that loved to do this. They loved to like get real technical about the breathing portion, and I wasn't a fan of it because I felt like it distracted them from the movement portion. And that is so hard to get a client to do.
Well, I like your recommendation with the drawn in maneuver, and you can do that all kinds of different ways. It's just really just having them focus on how do I brace but still be able to breathe and be able to work my way through that. It's a valuable thing to do just to be able to maintain stability and anchor yourself doing all these movements.
Right.